Hey, what's up, comrades? We're here to talk about The Elite, which is the second book in the Selection trilogy. I know there's like two more books. I have them all in book on tape. I think the second two are about the obvious, what's her name, America and Maxine's kid, probably daughter, according to how these books are in. Anyway, so for those of you joining us for the first time, the Selection is a book series which is essentially The Bachelor, but future post-apocalyptic America, and it's not really post-apocalyptic, it's just like future America, after stuff happened. I gotta appreciate that. It's just kind of like, oh, there's still planes and crap, and stuff's happened, but there has been no like world-changing events necessarily. There's just like a caste system because that always works. Stupid. And if you don't know what The Bachelor is, it's where you get a guy, a very hunky young man, and you throw like 30 beautiful women at him, quote unquote beautiful, to be completely honest. And they fight until one becomes the victor, and then 9 times out of 10, the engaged couple at the end breaks up. I watched a bit of it. My wife was really into it for a spell. I don't know if she's really that into it anymore. She kind of birds out on things pretty quick. She's not a guy, obviously, so she doesn't latch on to something like StarCraft and hold on to its husk years after it's been abandoned by its creators, like some people. So the Elite. Now we're down to 6. Normally the Elite in this world apparently would be 10, but it's 6 for reasons because of rebellions, because the prince has already decided he wants to be with America, of course. But America is so wishy-washy. And that is the story of this book, and there's really not much to talk about. So you often hear the term, I died of boredom. This is more, I died a little bit inside because of mediocrity. So let's start with the good. Well, I guess we can run through the story. Again, there's not much. So America is wishy-washy. She can't decide if she wants to be with Aspen or Maxon because Maxon has to be a prince, and there's like duties to be a prince, and she doesn't know if she's going to be a good princess, and she doesn't know if she wants to be a princess, and there's a whole thing where like one of the girls left is like kind of her friend, Melanie. It's not Melanie because these names have to be ridiculous, so it starts with an M of some sort. But it's like Melanie or I don't remember. It's not important. Anyway, she's if they catch her like smooching around with one of the guards, and so they both get like threatened, like they should be like beheaded because that's how this kingdom works for some reason. But it said they get made eights. Oh no, not eights. Eights is the out. It's like the Indian outclass or whatever. Like they're homeless essentially and like vagabonds. And why does a caste system exist to make people homeless? I don't know. That's go ahead and ask the governor of California why he has decided to also do the exact same thing. Probably so they can control people more easily. I don't know. It's never going to be justified in this book because the writer is not thinking that far ahead thus far. There's a whole book for her to surprise me, but thus far this has been pretty like on the nose when it comes to exactly what's going to happen, and nothing really salacious happens. So it's actually a funny conversation I had. So it's plot okay, well, let's finish the plot. I'm sorry. It's so boring. Anyway, so she gets all butthurt because her friend's gone. And then Maxine starts like doing what anybody's going to do who's on The Bachelor. He's not going to just stick around and wait for the girl that he wants to be with, who's like very wishy-washy. He's going to like, all right, well, I'll keep her around for now, but if she doesn't want to be, be married to me, I'm going to like move on. Like the fuck. And then she gets extra angry that he is essentially he like tells her straight up. He's like, hey, you're being kind of a cunt. Like, I want to be with you. Do you want to be with me? And she's like, I don't know. And he's like, look, bro, I need like a fucking answer. Like, the hell? You're like, it's not everything's about you, honey. Like, I gotta fucking figure this thing out. And if you're not all in, then I gotta find someone who is, because I gotta fucking rule a country here, and I can't just sit around waiting for you to like figure it out. And then she gets like sassy about that, and then she decides there's like some presentation. Oh, there's like a thing where they have to like present. They have to like host a foreign country. So Germany comes, and then her and the girl she's with, Ilya, who's like her new friend, who's also not her friend. I don't know if it's Ilya. I don't think Ilya's the name of the country. Anyway, they host like Italy, and the Italian women are super Italian stereotype, so well, it's fine. not opposed to it per se. But then the Princess of Italy is like, oh, because everyone's, I guess, monarchies now. The Princess of Italy is like, oh, we want you to win. If there's anything we can do to help, let me know. Because she's like a woman of the people or something. I don't know. It's not as Mary Sue as it kind of sounds. It really isn't. Like, she's got a lot of foibles. And I'll get to it now. The best part of this book is that Maxon actually is a man and calls her shit out, which a lot of these books never happens. Or if it gets called out, it's like, well, he was in the wrong in the end. But this, she gets called out like hard. And then she gets like extra mad about that. And then he like calls her out again. And then she like catches him making out with the girl she likes the least. And he's like, bruh, like, you're fucking around, wishy-washy, doing all this bullshit. And meanwhile, she's like fooling around with Aspen. A little bit behind his back. So like, fuck her. Right. No one finds out about that. But then she gets like super jelly, and then they have to do these presentations on how they're gonna like an America, like Miss America pageant. And her proposition is to get rid of the caste system, and then the king loses it. And then you find out that he was going to, like, whip her and kick her out of the contest, but instead Maxon, like, convinces his dad to, like, whip him instead, which I guess is, like, a semi-common occurrence. And we also find out, the most interesting thing is that, we'll get to that. And so then Maxon's, like, all beat the hell, and then the rebels attack, and then America kind of, like, saves him, sort of. There's actually a guard that saves him, but then the guard dies. So then Maxon is, like, instead of, like, being like, this guard is a heroic hero who saved the prince, he's like, oh, America saved me, so she has to stay. And the king's like, all right, I don't like it, but that's a fair point. And that's how the book ends. You're like, motherfucker, what an asshole. And then she kind of like doubles down, at least at this point, to be like, no, I want to be with Maxon. And Aspen can eat an egg or something. I don't know. We'll see. She's probably going to be wishy-washy in the next book, too. Like, I don't know what else they're going to talk about. Okay, so the three interesting things. So the first interesting thing that we find out is that Maxon is actually a man, and he can stand up for himself. Also, he's like 17 or 18. These people are not written like teenagers. They kind of are, but not intentionally. They're written like 30-year-olds. Writing about teenagers is the problem. Like, they have these conversations that are like, what kind of... I've been 17. Now it's been like 24 years. But... I did not talk like this to anybody. It's a lot of like bullshit around and like confusion and stuff. It's not like hard decisions and making these presentations about how to change the government that people take super seriously. It's like, bro, she's like fucking 17. Calm down. Damn. We find out that the rebels really don't want this contest to happen for some reason. They like kill one of the girl's sisters, and then she nopes out of the contest, I think. And then they're like stealing books for some reason. And at some point, America's like hiding in the trees in the woods after the rebels attack. And one of the rebels like looks up at her and is like winky winky, and then runs off. And she's like, that was weird. And then we find out the whole country was started because like a guy who was rich just decided that he was going to be king and stuff. And so he just did it. And that's like the Ilya, I guess, the founder of the kingdom. And he was just kind of an asshole. And we find this out because that book that that America's not supposed to have, she was reading it, and he talks about how he's like, I'm bored. This is boring. I'm going to overthrow the government. And it was super easy and stuff. And it's like, well, that guy sucks. And that's kind of poor writing, too. It's like very interesting. He's like a very cartoony level villain out of nowhere. And it's just like, okay, whatever. Nothing matters. So yeah, that's the Elite. There's one more book in the trilogy, and there's two more. I started to try to read the one, and I got like a few pages in, and I was like, I'd rather just listen to nothing. I'd rather just sit in silence and stare off into the distance. Like, it's a whole other book of this. I'm gonna finish it, but it's like, bruh. All right, cool. Catch y'all later.